In 2017, Kenya's president stood on a plot of land in Upper Hill and laid the foundation stone for what was supposed to become the tallest building in Africa. 320 meters, 70 floors, a 5-star Hilton on top. Today, that plot doesn't have a tower on it. It had its land put up for auction. And it's not the only one. Kenya has announced at least 4 other skyscrapers just as ambitious, and every single one of them has told too. This isn't a story about bad luck, it's a story about a pattern. And by the end of this video, there's one more tower, one that actually under construction right now, that might finally break it. Kenya doesn't have a shortage of ambitious skyscraper designs. Investors keep announcing them. Presidents keep breaking ground on them, and renders keep circulating online. The hard part isn't dreaming these towers up, it's finishing them. Over the next 15 minutes, we are counting down 5 Kenyan skyscrapers that were announced with real money, real government backing, and real construction crews, starting with the quietest failure and building up to the one that has started with the most fanfare of all. And then, at the end, we look at a 6th tower that's currently under construction, one that Kenya's own pension fund says was designed specifically to avoid repeating this exact history. Let's start at number 5 for Montave Tower, another Upper Hill project announced around 2016. A 40-story mixed-use development, a joint venture involving Has Consult and Abacus International, budgeted at roughly 5.56 billion shillings. Construction was expected to start in 2017. Nearly a decade later, Montave still isn't standing. Property tracking data and local reporting describe the site as largely neglected, with minimal to no active structural progress since those early groundworks. It's not tied up in a dramatic court case, and it was not rejected outright by a regulator. It simply sat there year after year, quietly going nowhere, in a way that makes it the quietest version of this story. Not a collapse, not a scandal, just a stall that never really ended. Number 4 didn't die, it just got a lot smaller. G47 Ugatuzi Tower was announced as a 50-story headquarters for Kenya's Council of Governors, including a National Devolution Conference Center. Ground broke in December 2020 with then President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto both present. Budget around 5 billion shillings. But the funding source became controversial almost immediately. The project was being financed through a county workers' pension fund, lab trust, and the county pension fund. And the workers' own union went to court, arguing they hadn't been properly consulted before their pension money was committed to a skyscraper. That case is a matter of public record through Kenya's own court system. In February 2025, Construction Kenya reported that the tower had been formally scaled back from 40 floors to 34. The official reason given was an oversupply of office space in Nairobi and rising construction costs. But industry reporting also suggested that pressure from the pension fund controversy played a role. And this isn't just a claim from a news article. There's an actual environmental impact assessment filed with NEMA for the revised 34-floor version of the building at a new estimate cost of about 3.05 billion shillings. That's a real documented 40% size reduction on a project that already broke ground with two Kenya's most senior politicians standing on site. Number 3 has a genuinely clean ending, which makes it a useful contrast to the two we have just covered. Cytonn Towers, 3 35-story bedrooms in Kilimani, 20 billion shillings, aimed at upper middle class residents, NGOs and diplomatic tenants. Nairobi City County approved the plan in July 2017. Kilimani residents pushed back almost immediately. Traffic density and proximity to a nearby school were the main objections. And in April 2018, Nairobi County did something unusual. It cancelled its own prior approval. Cytonn sued to get that decision overturned. They lost. A High Court judge upheld the county's right to revoke an approval they had already granted, a ruling that's since been referenced as a precedent in other Kenyan development disputes. By January 2021, Construction Kenya reported that Cytonn had shelved the project entirely and put the 4-acre plot up for sale, looking to raise around 2 billion shillings. Announcement, approval, opposition, cancellation, court challenge, defeat, and land sale. Of every project in this video, Cytonn Towers is the one we can say with full confidence is not coming back. Quick question before we move on. Do you think Kilimani residents were right to push back on this one? Or should the county have let it proceed? Genuinely curious what you think. Comment below. Number 2 might be the most ambitious skyscraper ever proposed in Kenya, and is not even in Nairobi. Palm Exotica, proposed for the small coastal town of Watamu in Kilifi County, not Nairobi or Mombasa. 61 floors, 370 meters, a 5-star hotel with 270 rooms, a shopping mall, offices, apartments, even a casino. Designed by Italian architect Lorenzo Pagnin, backed by Italian investor Franco Rosco alongside partners from New York and South Africa. Announced in 2018. In 2019, local leaders and residents publicly backed the project while Kenya's environmental regulator NEMA was still reviewing it. But here is the part most online write-ups about this tower leave out. In January 2020, NEMA declined to issue the environmental license for the project as it was designed. Kenyan reporting at the time said NEMA cited concerns about zoning, physical planning, and the coastal fair show, and told the developers to either redesign the project or find an alternative site entirely. Unlike Cytonn's court battle, this wasn't a community fight or a legal dispute. This was Kenya's own environmental authority looking at a super tall skyscraper on a sensitive stretch of coastline and saying, "Not like this." As of the most recent reporting available, the project is still described as being in limbo. There is even an academic paper from 2022 examining the environmental and social impact assessment. So this wasn't just an internet rumor, it was a real proposal that went through real regulatory review and got turned away. 8 years after it was announced, Watamu's skyline is exactly as it was before anyone had the name Palm Exotica. And that brings us to number 1, the story that opened this video. The Pinnacle, sometimes called Pinnacle Towers, 2 adjacent buildings in Upper Hill, a 320-meter, 70-story tower, paired with a shorter 45-floor sister tower that was going to house 255-room Hilton Hotel. On May 23, 2017, President Uhuru Kenyatta laid the foundation stone himself. This wasn't a quiet private development. It was a national statement. The developers were Haas Petroleum and the White Lotus Group, led by Indian businessman Vijay Kumar Naidu. Construction actually started. For a while, this looked real. Then the legal problems started. Part of the land the project needed became entangled in a dispute involving a Ugandan businessman and a trust connected to the family of a former UAE ruler. In January 2021, a Kenyan court ordered the developer, White Lotus Projects, to pay a scaffolding supplier roughly 197 million shillings over unpaid debts. By 2024, Business Daily was reporting that the company behind the project, Jabavu Village, was facing multiple lawsuits over debts and contractual disputes tied to the site. And then in February 2025, the land itself, the plot the tower was supposed to sit on, was put up for public auction as part of a roughly 1.2 billion shillings loan dispute with the bank. There was also a court injunction filed around the same auction attempt, so even the sale itself became contested. What we can say clearly is this: the project has remained stalled for years, despite the developers periodically signaling they hope to revive or redesign it. As of now, there is no completed Pinnacle Tower, just a stalled site, a legal paper trail, and a plot of land whose ownership is still being fought over. Of everything on this list, this is the one that started with the most fanfare and fell the farthest. If you have driven past the upper hillside and seen it in person, tell me what it actually looks like right now. I want to know if it's changed. Look at these 5 confirmed cases side by side and a pattern emerges. Pinnacle stalled over land ownership and financing. Palm Exotica was stopped by Kenya's own environmental regulator. Cytonn was killed by community opposition and a county planning reversal. G47 survived, but only after a pension fund governance fight forced it to shrink by nearly half. And Montave simply stalled quietly with no dramatic cause on record at all. 5 different projects, 5 different failure points: land, regulation, community, governance, and in Montave's case, apparently nothing more than momentum running out. The one thing they don't have in common is lack of ambition. Kenya's investors and government agencies keep dreaming at a super tall scale. The bottleneck is not imagination, it's execution. Out of Pinnacle, Palm Exotica, Cytonn, G47, and Montave, which one do you think are the most avoidable failure? Drop your comments below. And that brings us to one last tower, the one I promised at the start of this video. Unlike the 5 we just covered, this one isn't stalled, it's actually happening. The National Social Security Fund, Kenya's own pension fund, is building twin towers at the junction of Kenyatta Avenue and Uhuru Highway, right in Nairobi CBD. Tower A, 60 stories, 260 meters, which would make it the tallest building in East and Central Africa. Tower B, 35 stories, 140 meters, a 30 billion shillings project, fully funded by the pension fund itself. This isn't rumors or renders. NEMA's public participation process was formally published in the Kenyan Gazette in February 2026. And unlike Palm Exotica or Pinnacle, this project actually got past that stage. NSSF broke ground in early 2026, and as of now, the site is an active groundwork. and excavation. Paperwork is done and diggers are actually on site. A contractor has already been named, Channel Road and Bridge Corporation, working alongside CCCC, that highway engineering. And here's the detail that ties this entire video together. When NSSF's CEO briefed Parliament on this project, it specifically said the fund adopted different financing structure. The contractor finances construction and NSSF pays out against verified milestones, explicitly to reduce the risk of contractors taking mobilization money and then failing to deliver. In other words, Kenya's own pension fund is telling Parliament on the record and that is learned something from Pinnacle, Exotica, Cytonn, G47 and Montave knows the pattern. Excavation is underway. Whether that's enough to actually get a tower built where 5 others couldn't is still an open question. But for now, at least, this is the one project on this list that's moving instead of stalling. 5 ambitious Kenyan skyscrapers that never became what they promised, and 1 massive new tower currently under construction, built by an institution that says it's specifically designed to avoid this exact history. If you want to know whether NSSF actually pulls this off, that's a story I'll be following. So subscribe if you want to see how it plays out. And tell me in the comments, which of Kenya's tall towers do you think is most likely to eventually get built? I'll read through the comments and reply to as many as I can. See you on the next